Okay, so we were talking about the halachot of ties, the kesher, and so what we had said that the two basic criteria that you need for it to be a problem is that it needs to be kesher shel kayaman maseh uman. So now we're already getting into some of the fine details because it's the third part of the section. So we're talking about now something that happens quite often, that you open a plastic bag on Shabbat for food, or you need a plastic bag like for the trash or something like that, and you want to either retie the plastic bag that you used for the food that you took the food out from in order to protect the food from going bad, or you want to put a tie around the trash can and to throw it out. So it says like this: En lasot b'Shabbat kesher b'shulayim shel sakit ha'asuya min nylon. It says you're not allowed to make on Shabbat a tie with the strings that are made of nylon, plastic, or so on, or around the bag that's made of nylon. Similar to what you make at the end of the tzitzit. He says even if you use the bag itself without any string, he says, he says, and so too you can't undo this kind of tie. He says, but he says, if you need on Shabbat things that are in the bag, in order to take out the food that's inside the bag, you rip the bag. However, you can tie these bags with what we'll call a weak tie. And then if by mistake it opens, or it opens kind of by itself or with an easy loosening, then you're allowed to open it up. So we're talking about here again the let's say the garbage bag, right? So today, I don't know about you, there's two types of garbage bags. There's ones that have the ties built in, right? So to just pull them up and not tie them is not a problem. To tie it is a problem, certainly if you do a tight knot. To just X them and then it's loose wouldn't be such a problem, meaning to just cross it over, but not that you're pulling it and yanking it, that it's a tie. That would not be a problem. So that's one area. The other area is the bags of food, right? So I would say the way to do a bag of food is rather than to create an X and tie it, what you can do, which is not as strong and it doesn't stay, is to kind of make a little circle and tuck it in, and then if it comes out, it comes out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But to make a strong tie on the bag is not allowed. Now, what about there are other options that we have, like taking a clip or something like that. So that's the best option, all right? To take a clip and clip it on the bag is not a problem because you're not tying anything or anything like that. So that's really the best option that we have when it comes to the plastic bags. So if this is something that you have around the house a lot, it may make sense to buy some kind of clothespin, or they make special clips for the bags for the food. This way you don't have to tie and untie the food that you need. Now, if you're, as he said, if you're, like a challah, right, very often comes in a plastic bag. So you could just rip the bag as long as you're not going to use it again. So, but if you plan on using it again, so the ties do present a little bit of a problem. Okay. Next, מתכבד מנחה בשבת כתיבת ספר תורה, מותר לו לקשור הספר תורה בעניבה על גבי קשר, מכל מקום, אם רואה שמטפחת הקשירה היא ארוכה ויוכל לגלול בחוזקה על ידי קשר אחד, ובתחיבה בתוך העיגוד, באופן שבטוח הוא שלא יגרום שיחלוש הקשר, אזי להיות טוב שיעשה קשר אחד ותחיבה בתוך העיגוד. So here he's talking about not our situation so much, although it actually can come up in our situation, which is tying the Sefer Torah. You may be familiar with the Sefer Torah of the Ashkenazim. So the Ashkenazim tend to have not only the cover that you see over it, but also they have the two rolls, and they cling them together, and then they put a tie around them. Now, the truth is today, most of them use some kind of clip, so it becomes less of a problem. But a lot of them do use a tie, right? There's no clip. So he says that for the kavod of the Sefer Torah, they allow it, but what they recommend doing is one crossover and then tucking it in, kind of like you might do with the belt of your jacket, where you don't usually double tie it. You do one crossover, and then you tuck it in, and then that tends to make it stay in its place. That's his recommendation for a Sefer Torah amongst Ashkenazim. Okay. Divrei halbasha chadashim hakshurim yachad. So if you have clothing, new clothing that is tied together, kegon garbaim ukfafot, like socks and gloves tend to do. You haven't used them before, and very often they have a string that ties them together. Yafridem zeh mezeh lefnei knisat Shabbat. Ideally, you should separate them before Shabbat. If you didn't remember to separate them before Shabbat, al yatir kol kesher. He says you shouldn't be untying knots. Ela mutar l'natek hachut imosek ken derech kilkul hachut. He says, but you can break the strings. You can break the knot. You can undo the clip. Very often on the, just thinking about socks. So there's that metal clip. To undo that metal clip, no problem. Also, very often there's like a string tying them together. To rip the string is also not a problem, because you're destroying the string, and it's not an issue. We're going to get to tearing in the next set of halachot. Okay, next thing. Mutar lotzia tasichot shregilim lidchot bebet haharoshet kedei lishmor al kipulim shel haketonet v'chayotze bazeh. He says if you have a shirt that has that comes out of the package, and it usually will have either pins or clips on it, it's no problem. You can take out the pins or the clips or the plastic pieces or anything like that. You can take them out. There's no issue with that. Okay. Mutar lachatachila להשחיל בשבת שרוך חדש בנעל ישנה, אבל בנעל חדשה שמעולם לא היו בה שרוכים, אסור. So he says, let's say your shoe, the lace broke, and now you have to put in a new shoelace. He says if it's an existing shoe that had a shoelace in it, it's not a problem to relace the shoe, to take either that lace and rework it, or to get a new lace out of a package and to string it through the loops and the eyes of the shoe. It's not a problem. He says, but for a new pair of shoes that has never been worn and has never had laces laced through it, that you're not allowed to do on Shabbat. So you are allowed to lace the shoes if they are existing already, meaning you've used them, you've worn them, or something like that. But if they're a new pair straight out of the box and they don't have laces, so wait till next week because you're going to have a hard time wearing them without the laces. And you can't put in new laces in new shoes. So new laces in old shoes would be no problem, but new laces in new shoes is a problem. Okay, so that's the end of the tying. And
Rabbi, I have a question about you get something from the from the cleaners, that thing with a staple. You're supposed to rip it, open it. How do you take that off, or you don't take that off?
Are you talking about like the full
shirt?
Cover?
No,
yeah,
just the shirt. It has a little staple on the thing that has their number on it.
Oh yeah, you could just rip that off. You could open up the state. You could do however you want.
Doesn't matter.
Does not matter. No, all those things that we're going to see. There's a lot of leniency on those issues because you're destroying the thing. Meaning, like the tag number 52, right, or whatever it is that's on there. So by even though we're going to see there's a halacha about ripping something, it's a constructive ripping. And since what you're doing in this instance is a destructive ripping, so it's not a problem. We're going to get to that. Actually,
we definitely don't need it anymore. So Yeah.
Right. No, so those types of things, to the tag, often, you have that swift tack item on the clothing, it's a new shirt or, something that has the price tag on it. To rip that off, we're going to see that's not a problem.
Good. All right. Thanks.
And what about the twisty? Sometimes they twist a few of the hangers together.
So also not a problem to untie that. Let's see, 1 second, let me think about that. They have twisted the ties together with the hangers. Would that be allowed? It's not a tradesman's knot. It's generally not intended. It's intended to be undone rather quickly.
Right.
I would say it's okay. I actually have issue. I just looking back at what we did today, I didn't spend a lot of time preparing this piece. It's interesting that it seemed to me that he was stricter than he was in these last couple of halachot than he was in the earlier halachot. So I was looking at where he was quoting for it, and for the most part, he was quoting different sources. So I actually want to go back and look at Chacham Ovadia Yosef, who he doesn't quote on almost any of these things, to see if he is being, if the author of the book that we're reading is being stricter than Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, because I want to see about some of the ties that we're talking about. I think are intended to be more lenient in the sense, or should be more lenient in the sense that they're not intended to last, and they're not intended, like the kitchen bag. You may tie it now, and you may undo it in 15 minutes from now. So I'm a little bothered by the kitchen bag halakha, and I'm looking at where he's getting it from, and I don't. Most of the opinions are Ashkenazic opinions, and who generally tend to be more strict on these things. So I really want to see if I could find something from Rabbi Ovadia Yosef that perhaps the author of this book on his own chose to be more strict and say that we shouldn't, because I think that even those little ties that we make on the bags, I think are not a problem. I think that they're not, they fit the criteria of what makes it allowed. We don't intend to leave it for long, and it's not a professional tie. So even though we said that it would be a problem, I'm of the inclination. I want to look back and see if I could find it in the words of Rabbi Ovadia Yosef expressly, but I'm of the inclination to say that it's not a problem and that he's quoting some stricter opinions for whatever reason. So even that, I want to kind of walk back a little bit on this. Okay, it's 7:15. I think we're going to stop here for today. Tomorrow, we're going to start a very interesting topic, which has a lot of pieces to it, which is sewing and tearing. Sewing and tearing. So sewing means making something, well, we'll talk about it, but it means making, not just making a tie, but actually kind of like a stitching of some sort. And tearing has a lot of implications because we tend to tear more things than we think of. So it's actually the tearing, which is the more critical of the two parts. Sewing, we don't do that much of, but tearing, we do tend to do a lot of. So that's going to be the next topic for tomorrow. Any questions? Anything on what we did?
Just one question. The hallah, sometimes it comes in a bag, and instead of a tie at the end, there is a tape. Can you tear the tape and reuse the bag if you save the bag, or because you said you're not supposed to reuse the bag if there is a tie?
Right. So the tape, actually, I want to talk about in the next day or two, because tape has a lot to do with the tofer. And the bag, as we said, you could reuse the bag. The best thing to do is to have those clips. But if you don't have the clips, I actually think you have what to rely on with a not strict tie to the bag. Not a very strong tie. But if you grab the top and do that like kind of
loop.
Yeah, that I think that's okay.
All right, thanks.
Okay, have a great day, everybody.
See you later.
Take care.
Have a great day. Thanks, Rabbi.
Take care, Joe.